Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name's Oscar, I'm 32, and up until a few months ago, I thought I was about to marry the right woman. Courtney and I met 3 years ago at a community fundraiser. I was there because my buddy Ethan had roped me into donating some labor hours from my construction company for their silent auction. She was there because a friend of hers was hosting. She caught my eye halfway through the night. Dark hair, simple dress, talking with her hands like she was explaining something important. I found a reason to join that group, and by the end of the evening, we'd traded numbers. It moved quickly. 6 months later, we were inseparable, and by the end of the year, she'd moved into my apartment. Courtney worked as a freelance photographer, weddings, portraits, small businesses, so her schedule was flexible. Mine wasn't, but she said she liked that I kept steady hours. The proposal wasn't flashy. One Friday night after a long week, I made dinner. Nothing fancy. Steak, potatoes, her favorite wine. After dinner, I pulled out a small box and asked. She said yes before I finished the sentence. Tears in her eyes, hugging me like she'd never let go. We set a date for the following spring. The first few months of planning were smooth. We booked a vineyard an hour outside the city, picked a caterer she loved, and started talking about the guest list. She was full of ideas. Then, about 6 months in, the energy shifted. She'd shrug off questions about the flowers. "We've got time," she'd say. "The seating chart? Later." The cake tasting we'd scheduled got pushed back twice because she was too busy with clients. One Friday night, we had dinner with friends. Someone suggested a game. If you could redo 1 year of your life, which would it be? People were tossing out answers, mostly funny ones, until it got to Courtney. Without hesitation, she said, "My junior year of college, probably with Alex." The table went quiet. She laughed quickly. "Kidding. Kind of." But she didn't look at me. I didn't say anything that night, but it stayed with me. After that dinner, something in me switched from relaxed to observant. I didn't go digging through her phone or following her around, but I started noticing patterns. Courtney's phone was always face down on the table now. She'd glance at it, smile in this small, private way, and then type fast with both thumbs. The next week, we had a cake tasting scheduled. That morning, she texted me, "Can't make it. Last-minute client shoot." No apology, just the message. I ended up going alone. That weekend, I tried to set up a small day trip to the lake, just the two of us. She brushed it off. "I can't, Oscar. Maria needs help moving furniture." She threw out her back. Maria, her sister, apparently had bad timing every time I tried to pin Courtney down lately. One night, Ethan dropped by after work. While I was in the kitchen grabbing us beers, I heard him say to her, "You've been grinning at that phone all night. Who's the lucky guy?" His tone was joking, but she shot back a little too quickly. "It's just a client." Later, when Ethan and I were alone, he gave me a look. "Man, I'm not trying to stir the pot, but she's texting like she's in high school again, nonstop. I've seen that face before. It's not about work." I didn't answer. I was still playing it cool, still giving her enough rope. 2 nights later, she came home late, dropped her bag, and barely looked at me. I asked if she wanted to watch something together. She sighed. "Oscar, I need to make sure I'm choosing right." I kept my voice even. "Choosing right about what?" She shook her head. "About everything. About us." She walked into the bedroom without another word. That was the first time I let myself believe there was someone else in this equation. We barely spoke the next couple of days, just surface stuff. She was distant, and I didn't push. The air between us felt thinner, like something was about to snap. It was a quiet Sunday evening. I was in the kitchen making pasta when Courtney walked in and leaned against the doorway like she had something rehearsed. "Oscar, can we talk?" Her tone was calm, but her eyes wouldn't settle on me. "Sure," I said, wiping my hands on a towel. She sat down at the table, folded her hands, and took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot lately. About us, and about Alex." Alex. The name landed like a hammer on the counter. I didn't react, just waited. She kept going. "I feel like I never really got closure with him. We broke up in college and I guess part of me wonders if he was supposed to be the one. I'm not saying I want to leave you." "You're saying you want to figure it out," I finished for her. She nodded quickly. "Just a break. A few weeks, maybe a month. I'd stay at Maria's. No pressure, no fighting. I just need to know for sure that I'm making the right choice with you. I leaned back in my chair, letting the words sit between us. So, while you're figuring that out, I'm supposed to do what? Put my life on pause? It's not like that, she said, a little defensive now. I'm not asking you to wait around. Yes, you are, I said evenly. She flinched but pressed on. Oscar, I love you. But if we get married and I still have these questions, it's going to ruin us later. This is just about clarity. I owe it to both of us. Her voice softened, like she was trying to sell me on a deal. It's not forever. I stood up, poured myself a glass of water, and took a slow sip before answering. Okay. She looked surprised. Okay? If that's what you need, take your break, I said, my tone flat. She relaxed slightly, maybe thinking she'd won. I'll pack a bag tonight, head to Maria's. We'll talk soon. I nodded once. Sure. She left an hour later, and that was the last time she saw me waiting. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, I set my glass down and started planning. The vineyard venue we'd booked had a partial refund window. I called, explained that plans had changed. The deposit returned to my account within an hour. The caterer, the photographer, the florist, each one got the same call. Most offered partial refunds, some non-refundable. But I didn't care. It wasn't about the money. It was about closing doors she thought were still open. Next was the joint credit card. I paid the balance, closed it, and pulled her as an authorized user on my main account. Our lease? Technically, it was in my name alone. I'd been the one with the deposit and the credit check. I emailed the landlord about early termination. I went room by room. Her camera gear, clothes, framed prints, all of it, went into neatly labeled boxes. I stacked them in the corner of the living room, out of the way but impossible to miss. While this was happening, I signed a 6-month lease on a short-term furnished place across town. No overlap, no shared address. By Friday night, the apartment was bare enough to echo. If Courtney walked back through that door, she wouldn't find the version of me she'd left behind, or the life she'd left on pause. She'd find exactly what she'd asked for: space. 2 weeks later, I heard from her. A text, mid-morning. Can we talk? I think I'm ready. I replied, sure, come by tonight. By the time her car pulled into the lot, I was sitting at the kitchen counter of the now half-empty apartment. Her boxes sat in the corner, right where I'd left them, the printed inventory list still taped to the top. On the counter beside me were the lease termination notice and the cancellation receipts from every wedding vendor. She stepped inside, stopped cold, and looked around. What happened here? I kept my tone even. I made some changes. Her eyes landed on the receipts. You canceled everything? The venue? The photographer? Why? You wanted a break, I said. I respected that. She turned toward me, her face tense. Oscar, I didn't mean for you to erase everything. I just needed to know for sure. And now you know? I asked. She swallowed hard. Alex wasn't what I thought. He's still the same guy. I made a mistake. She stepped closer. I want to fix this. I want us. I shook my head once. Courtney, you didn't just take a break. You tested the future, and you found your answer. Her voice rose a little. It was a moment of weakness. I panicked, but I came back. No, I cut in, my tone still calm. You came back because the other option didn't work out. She froze, like the air had gone out of her. So that's it? You're just done? That's it. She looked at the boxes, then back at me. I didn't think you'd actually move on. That's where you miscalculated, I said. For a long moment she stood there, not sure what to say. Then she muttered something I didn't catch and walked out. It didn't take long for the fallout to start. 3 days after she left, my phone buzzed with my mother's name. Oscar, she said, skipping the greeting. Why am I hearing that you called off the wedding and broke Courtney's heart? I leaned back in my chair. Where'd you hear that? From Courtney's mother, she said. She's telling people you blindsided her. I kept my voice level. That's not what happened. My mother sighed. Well, people are talking. You might want to get ahead of it. By the next morning, Courtney's Instagram was filled with vague captions. Some people can't handle real love, and you don't throw away diamonds for stones. She didn't tag me, but everyone knew. I didn't chase her, didn't call to correct the story. Instead, I drafted one message, sent it as a group text to both families and our closest friends. Hi everyone, Courtney and I have ended our engagement after a lot of difficult conversations. I won't be sharing details, and I'd appreciate it if we could all respect each other's privacy. Thank you. That was it. No blame, no story. 5 minutes later, I blocked Courtney on every channel, phone, email, and social media. Some people didn't like it. My cousin Daniel cornered me at a store 2 days later. Man, I heard you ditched her out of nowhere. That's true? I looked him dead in the eye. You heard wrong. She took a break to figure out if her ex was the one. I gave her exactly what she asked for. He didn't say much after that. The whispers didn't stop immediately, but they lost momentum fast when I refused to feed them. Once the message was out and she was blocked, I focused on finishing the clean break. The lease was officially terminated, and I moved into my short-term furnished place across town. Everything I kept fit into 2 moving vans. It felt light. I threw myself into work, taking on projects I'd turned down before. The distraction helped. About 3 weeks after the move, I was coming back from a site meeting when I saw her. Courtney was standing outside my new building, arms crossed, eyes scanning every passing car until she spotted me. A mutual friend had let the address slip, thinking she already knew where I'd moved. Oscar, can we talk? She asked as I stepped onto the sidewalk. I don't think there's much left to say, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. She moved closer. Please, just 5 minutes. No games. I sighed and nodded toward a bench near the entrance. She sat, twisting her hands together. I've been thinking. I messed everything up. I was scared, and I thought I needed to see Alex to let it go. But you're the one I want. Courtney, I said, you didn't just check if an old flame was out of your system. You walked away from our engagement to do it. You don't come back from that. Her voice cracked. I was wrong, okay? I thought you'd still be here. That's exactly the problem. She shook her head. We could still get married. We could move past this. I stood. No, we couldn't. Not for me. Not after you made me a backup plan. I wish you well, I added calmly. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't wait for a response. I walked inside, the door locking behind me. She didn't follow. After that last meeting, things went quiet. No more surprise visits, no more texts from family saying, Courtney says, she must have finally realized the door was closed for good. The whispers in my circle faded too. People moved on to other topics, and the vague sympathy posts on her Instagram stopped appearing. It was like she'd run out of audience. I settled into the new apartment. It wasn't big, but it was quiet. No half-finished projects she'd started, no decor arguments, no reminders of a wedding that wasn't happening. Work took off. I had the bandwidth to take on more clients. The focus and freedom made it clear how much mental space I'd been giving to someone who wasn't fully invested in me. One evening, a few months after it all went down, I sat on the balcony with a beer. Same kind of quiet night we used to have before things got messy. Except this time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for anything. No phone in my hand, no second guessing, no one else's timeline controlling mine. I thought about the night she told me she needed space to figure out if Alex was the one. Back then, she expected me to pause my life until she got her answer. Instead, I gave her the space she wanted and filled mine with everything she couldn't take from me. In the end, there was no dramatic revenge, no big scene, just a choice, not to be someone's safety net. And that choice was enough. Thank you for watching.